On this week's episode of the Geek State, Marvel has done it again. Let's do the time warp with Loki.
Turns out that there's a very fast way to see the opening of Jurassic World Dominion.
From Elderworld to Guardians of the Galaxy, we've got the highlights from this week's E3 event. All that and more on this episode of the Geek State.
The first discovery was made in the spring of 1990. From a mine in South America came a piece of amber containing the fossilized remains of a prehistoric mosquito. One of many that had fed upon the blood of dinosaurs. From the DNA in that blood, science was able to recreate those giants. And for the first time, man and dinosaur shared the earth.
You thought this was gonna be a street fight?
Stand by alert.
This is it!
Thank you, but your princess is in another podcast. This is the Geek State.
Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of the Geek State. This is the podcast about all the cool stuff going on in the world of geek. And my name is Chris, and of course, joining me, as always, my good buddy, James. James, are you ready to talk nerd, geek, video games, and there's all kinds of stuff. There's Loki.
Yeah, I mean, I'm ready to talk about all of these things. I think based on what I'm seeing in front of me, we're going to touch on each one of those things.
Yes, that's what the notes
TV,
are for.
video games, and movies.
It's everything.
And all of it is geek stuff.
Which is perfect, because it'd be weird if I put something in the show notes that wasn't related to the, the main topic of the show. I wish I had some exciting, last episode we had the U.S. government going to release all the stuff about UFOs, and it turned out it was just, I don't know. We don't know. It's still could be aliens.
Yeah. So I wish I could have warned you harder.
You know what you did. That's the truth of the matter is you basically said that's exactly what's going to happen. But other than that, I do have something at the top of the show that if you're a longtime listener of the podcast, back, well, I guess it was last year, I started condensing my Star Wars collection and various other things, and in preparation for this move, got to a point where it was like keeping myself from making progress with the move. Like, I was dedicating all this time. It was very lucrative. It was quite good, James. But I kind of got to this place where I'm like, okay, the storage unit that houses this collection, James, decided to raise the rents, and I'm not kidding, like 80%.
What?
An 80% jump. And I'm like, yeah, so I don't feel like spending all this money to keep my collection someplace that I can't see.
That you can't even see it.
Yeah, I don't get to enjoy it. So that kind of prompted me to reopen the eBay sale. But again, I had stuff kind of earmarked, like this is to sell. I'm not planning on keeping this long term. It's not the stuff that quote unquote sparks joy anymore. So I reopened that. But then it also kind of occurred to me that, well, I have some figures. I have quite a few that are still in their packaging that I kept in their packaging, and they take up so much more space when they're like that. And with the prospect of having to move everything back to the house, because we're going to take everything out of that storage unit, I just kind of had this like moment where I was just like, screw this, I'm opening it. And I just like pulled out a bunch of Black Series stuff. I'm like, I'm not selling this. This is the only one I got. Like, I want to see it. I want to open it. And it's been such a good experience, James. Like, I don't know. Like, sometimes like like in my early days of collecting, like I was a hardcore like opener. Like, I was just like, the toys need to be free. But and so I started, so like now I've got like for a while on display, I had the like half of the Star Wars Rebels crew and the rest were in packaging. And then, it's so nice. Like, this is just a PSA, if you're a buy three, one to open, one to keep, one just in case, that's cool. That's for you. But man, it's super fun to open them up and put them on your shelf. And then also, like, you know, if I need to store these later, they take up like, I don't know, like a third of the space. It's great.
Right.
So I really have nowhere I'm going with this. It's just kind of
I'm proud of you.
Thank you, James.
I just want you to I'm proud of you. I hope
like
you looked them all up
this
on eBay before you opened them to make sure they weren't worth.
Yeah. Like, do I love this, or do I love $250 more because Captain Rex over here is going to see eBay pretty soon? Because he's still showing up. Rex is still showing up in the Bad Batch. There's no way they're not going to do another better version of him down the line. So, you know, the one that was like a, you know, Hasbro Comic-Con exclusive from like 3 years ago, you know, that I paid it was probably $30-$40, which is going for upwards of 200 something bucks on eBay. Sure, if you want to pay that, it's yours. It doesn't need to be in my collection.
Insert eBay link here.
Yeah, exactly. Find out more about my eBay collection by following me on Instagram. No, just kidding. Don't do that. The biggest thing right now that I am obsessed with, and I don't know about you, James, but Marvel has been on a roll. We're in our third original series on Disney Plus with Loki, and I'm looking at you, Star Wars, because come on, like I mean, I get it. Clone Wars, Bad Batch, those are original series. But when it comes to live action, we're just 2 seasons into The Mandalorian. And already this year, we have had WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and now we're into Loki. And I am super excited, especially after, like, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, James, was we can all agree that it's a good show. It has its important place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There's no doubt there.
Due to lack of seeing it, I cannot agree to that at this point in time. I would like to confess. I saw the first episode and it was good.
Oh, James.
Did you almost spoil something?
No, I almost spit out my drink is what almost happened. No, it's fine. It's fine.
I mean, it's okay. I probably won't watch it at this point, but
no,
I'll probably just read a synopsis.
No, because see, the thing is, it's a great show. It just, after you watch WandaVision and you're faced with like mystery after mystery, and like you're trying to kind of solve it and to kind of understand the whole thing, and the weekly release structure of the show made it so fun to be a part of that conversation. When you get to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you're kind of presented with a really long movie just split up into bits.
Yep. Yep. I agree. I think you said it perfectly when you said it goes perfectly in the MCU. And it's like, yes, it does. Whereas WandaVision was something different. That is another MCU product. I mean, I know they both are, but you know what I mean? Like, I do. That is superhero movie. Whereas WandaVision was like, what's going on here?
And thankfully, to my delight, that's exactly what Loki is.
Yes.
We're presented with something that is, familiar. It's, it opens, and this is, this is the whole premise of the show. It opens in New York City when Loki grabs a tesseract. It creates a branch in the timeline, and then we kind of follow Loki from that point on. And I know we're in 2 different spots, James. The episode drops on Wednesdays. We're recording on a Wednesday. I have not seen this new episode. You have, but we're going to mostly focus on this first one. But there's so much in this first episode that I like. I know that most of this first episode is all world building, that we're being presented with this entirely brand new concept. The TVA. Is it the Time Lords? Am I getting that right? Like,
Time, yeah, I think it is the Time Lords.
Yeah. This whole premise of these like celestial beings or immortal beings or villains. I mean, there's so many things to unpack with this episode. There's this tons of stuff to understand. One of the things I really liked was, how it opened in New York in the scene from Endgame, and we saw something that we were familiar with.
Original Avengers.
Correct.
Not Endgame.
Well, it's in the original Avengers, but it's stuff from Endgame when he grabs the Tesseract.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay.
So we kind of see stuff from a different angle, and then not only is it something that we're sort of familiar with, they shot new stuff, so they kind of like cut in between, and we got some alternate takes from the movie. So it was like, this isn't exactly what we saw in the original Avengers and in Endgame. And I think that really helped. And also there's some flashbacks where it's got Loki talking to his, mom, quote unquote, his adoptive mom. And those are all actually deleted scenes from Thor: The Dark World that they just added into the show.
Right. Which is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. It was very cool. One of my favorite. This is the other thing that I'm trying to wrap my head around, James. And again, like, if you know stuff from episode 2 and I don't know it, then just don't tell me.
No, I won't. Yeah. James Kelly does not comment on rumor and speculation.
It's well documented. Is the whole Miss Minutes propaganda aspect of the TVA? Like, there are posters everywhere. We get that cartoon at the towards the top of the show, kind of telling us, the history of it. And I'm like, I don't trust you, Miss Minutes. Like, this doesn't.
Do you think Miss Minutes, it could be the villain? Just this cartoon, 1950s looking cartoon. I
don't know if she's the villain of this thing. I think she's a tool that propaganda. One thing is, I hope that it continues. I hope we get more of those little moments like that throughout the series, because I think that they're telling in a way that it's like, hey, saying like, this is how it is. But really what it's telling you is like, this is how it's not. Like, I don't think these Time Lords are benevolent, beings in charge of everything.
Right.
So
the one thing that threw me off that I didn't like is that when he walked into the room, and it was in the trailer, but when he's like, sign this to notate that this is everything you've ever said ever. And then he's like, what? And it prints out a new paper. And he's like, what are you talking about? And it prints out another new paper or whatever. Loki's never had to sign anything in his life.
No.
How would he know what to sign? Like, I feel like there would be more discussion there.
He's like, what is this?
A car note is all I'm saying. And why do the Time Lords, if they're not from Earth, why do they sign things like that? That's not how I don't think on other planets, that's how they would sign stuff.
That's a really good point.
There'd be some sort of other identification.
I thought, honestly, you were going to go with like, he's like thousands of years old. Why is that?
And the stack is pretty short. Yeah.
I thought that's what you were going with. No, that's a good point. He'd be like, what is this? And the guy would be like, these are just legal documents.
Yeah, you have to sign this. And he's like, sign? What does that mean? It's like, well, when you buy a car. And he's like, no, I don't know when you buy a car. And it's just like constantly printing out papers. I feel like they could have done more with that. But
yeah. And I guess they're all, their signatures on Asgard. Like, I mean, I don't understand.
That's what I'm getting at, is I don't think there are. I didn't see any pins in the background of Asgard.
Thor doesn't have like a pocket protector. Yeah. He's like, oh, I've got to go to Jotunheim to like sign a deal between.
I got to get this realms. Notarized.
Yeah. Does Thor just sign it with Mjolnir? Let's just like slam it down like an old wax seal or something. Like, how does that work?
Exactly.
That's a good point. I'm super excited to see this next episode as soon as we're done recording. This something that jumped out at me. It didn't jump out at me. I watched this episode twice. So this is something I saw on my second viewing. So Owen Wilson's character, Morpheus. I know it's not Morpheus. But he has some sodas when he's talking to Loki. And I looked at the sodas and it was Josta. And I don't know, James, if you remember Josta.
I do not.
This is a real soda. And as a side note, when Chris over here was in high school, he played 2 years of high school soccer in my junior and senior year. And at some point during this time, there was a soda called Josta, and it was essentially the first energy drink. Like, it wasn't sold as like, it wasn't marketed in the same way that Red Bull is. It was marketed as like, it's got this guarana stuff in it, and it's got a lot of caffeine, and it's like, it's like, this is what people in Brazil drink to keep them energized or whatever, probably marketing garbage.
Right.
And it's not been sold for a really long time.
Because people in Brazil so energized.
Have you seen Carnival? Yeah, come on. I mean, and I was like, oh, this is such a weird little detail. Like, he has the ability to go through time, and maybe he found a point in time, he discovered this soda, and
that's
whenever
the one he likes.
Yeah. And he goes back to 1998 and gets himself some Josta and just keeps himself well stocked. I think that's just a funny, weird, very specific little Easter egg in this thing. All right. So before I've got, so who do we think, do we have any, I hesitate to ask this because you've seen the second episode, but
right.
The villain, there's a bad guy. We know this. We're teased at the end, guy in a cloak. We're also seen at the church in the 1500s. This kid points to like the devil. Is it just bad? Is it evil? Is it evil Loki, or is it Mephisto?
Yeah.
This again.
Well, James Kelly doesn't comment on rumor and speculation, but I think that they have presented us with the idea of a villain, and I think in true I personally think that even the person that they have presented as the villain may not actually be the villain, right? I think that there could be more going on, because just as much as they showed in the first episode, I feel like that was too much for that to be the ultimate villain.
Yeah,
however many episode run.
Right. 6 episodes this season. So it's just it's a short itty bitty Marvel thing. But rumors are it's Kang. I've heard a lot of Kang the Conqueror, which I don't know anything about. So it means nothing to me. And then also an interesting thing, there was somebody who pointed out something in Ant-Man where in the background you can see this like tiny domed like city when he was in the quantum realm. And people are speculating that is the TVA. That they exist outside of time and space in this weird virtual realm. And that's why they said time works differently in here.
Yeah, I was about to say that makes sense, because they said time works differently. And
because you've seen Ant-Man, right?
And I've seen Ant-Man. Speaking of which, Paul Rudd confirmed that he's currently filming Ant-Man 3 today. So
nice.
Wasn't in the notes, but
Quantumania.
Apparently that's happened.
In production.
Is that what it's called? Quantumania?
Yeah.
Oh God,
it's a great name. Some good news though about Loki. Disney Plus apparently had a huge success moving it from a Friday drop, which all of their original series up to this point have been, everything just gets added Friday. Disney decided to do Loki on Wednesdays. Apparently that was a really good move. They're not competing with anything else. And they're all in on Wednesdays. So all original series moving forward. I don't know when this takes effect. It was just announced today that all Disney Plus original series will premiere on Wednesdays as opposed to Fridays. So that is for us as a podcast.
Also, before we move off of Loki real quick, I do want to say that it's quite possibly the greatest obscure reference of all time with the DB Cooper reference.
Oh, yeah.
In the first episode.
He was just a lost bet to Thor.
Yeah, that's how all that happened, and that's how he escaped.
It's amazing.
It's pretty funny.
That was pretty good. And great that, it was teased in the trailer. I love how almost everything we saw in the trailer is pretty much the first season. There's a couple little things that are still kind of hanging out there, but right. The trailers didn't give anything away. And most of what we saw. Oh, and then the other thing too is the TVA apparently is located at the Atlanta Marriott. Apparently,
that's where
is it DragonCon?
Yeah, that's where DragonCon takes place.
Yeah, like could they picked a less nerdier location? That wouldn't be instantly recognizable. It's a cool spot, but once I saw pictures of it, I was like, yeah, that's the Atlanta Marriott.
Exactly.
That's great. Other things happening coming up, James, and just this is pretty quick, but I don't know if do you engage with Amazon Prime Day?
I mean, when I look at Slick Deals and they have a sale for something that I want, I guess I engage with it, but I do not actively reload Prime every hour to see what's on the flash sale. No, just
curious because Prime Day is coming up. It's next week, and for whatever reason, like I always look forward to it, but I'm less excited now that I'm not at the old job when I was like that used to be like a huge event at the summer camp. Like it was, you just buy. And then for the rest of the summer, you just kept getting gifts that you bought for yourself.
What day is Prime Day?
That's a great question, James. Wouldn't that have been cool to have?
And why is it in June? Like you'd think that they would do it in like a month number that would be a prime number, like and do it on a prime number day, like 3/17 or something like that.
Yeah, you know, I mean, Jeff, I would call Jeff, but Jeff's not the CEO anymore. It's June 21st and 22nd. So
yeah,
it's really
neither
prime,
of those are prime numbers. It's not even prime adjacent.
It's not even, yeah, like they shouldn't even do this. Like
they should just cancel the whole event.
Yeah, exactly. We sent in all of our Amazon Echo devices for trade-in because we're in the market to upgrade because they're getting sluggish. That's all. You know, it's just you
I have an Amazon Echo that is just sitting there that hasn't been plugged in for the better part of 3.5 years.
We've got a whole house that just rely on it. It's all of our lights and our thermostat and, you know.
I see. I made the switch to Google Home for the mesh Wi-Fi.
See, we're also that. I have that same Google Wi-Fi. And so it's like we have both. I don't know. It's just, it's
tough. That's tough.
We have to have all the things. Right now we're using the Google because we have no Echoes. So,
I see.
But we're gonna get the new show and some other stuff like that. But James, before we get to the headlines, we've got some cool stories coming up, and of course, we're gonna be talking about E3 and all of the big stuff that was announced, things that we're looking forward to. You know, kind of the highlights of the thing. But James, just one quick question before we get to the news, and you know, feel free to not answer if you don't want to, but you know, if you have a hot take on it, then go ahead. Does Batman Batman does that, right?
Batman does do that. Well, I don't know if Batman does that. Bruce Wayne definitely does that.
Let's get to the news. We've got the first trailer for Kevin Smith's He-Man series that's coming to Netflix. And honestly, James, as someone who did not grow up on He-Man, it's famously known that Chris was not allowed to watch He-Man because of
the scantily clad men. No,
it was mostly it was more occult based stuff, you know, like He-Man has the power, but you know, my parents were like, no, only Jesus has the power.
Right.
And so, yeah. And again, I think I've told the story like 1,000 times. Once at a birthday party, I was given a He-Man action figure and I gave it back to the kid because I couldn't. I said, I can't have this. But that hasn't stopped me from having some nostalgia for it. We've definitely watched it. We did on the old podcast, we watched the first episode of He-Man and talked about it. And Kevin Smith, of course, a big fan of He-Man as well. And it's been long talked about for at least a couple of years of his little revamp. And He-Man's been redone a few times. There are multiple He-Man iterations ever since the classic, you know, cartoon. But got to say, James, and I don't know if you've seen the trailer for this thing, but it feels the most true to its original source material, but while also not being like, and I don't want to call the old series lame, but like it looks cool. I don't know.
Yes, it looks very cool.
It's exciting, and I think for anybody who grew up on He-Man and had the toys, like everybody looks like their toy. Like they didn't try to, you know, do something and make it like, oh, like this is Man at Arms, but let me make Man at Arms like 2021.
Right.
You know, like let's update them to make them look more modern and stuff. Like, no,
they essentially upgraded the animation and the model, but not the character. Mm-hmm. It's like,
it's awesome. Like I'm super pumped for this. The only thing that kind of bummed me out, so this thing comes out July 23rd, is that, and maybe I'm okay with this. I'm back and forth now. He-Man, they're going to drop part 1 on July 23rd, and it's just 5 episodes. Like, it's just 30 minutes, 5 episodes. I guess it's a watch. It's weird, you know, in this era of streaming entertainment, you kind of feel like you deserve more than that if you get all of it at once.
Yeah. I wonder how much of it has to do with like, maybe it's just a small pilot. Like, I don't know how much they're going to be like, they want to see how well it does before they go, okay, we want 7 parts of this, or do we want 3 parts of this, or do we want 5 parts of this? That kind of thing.
That's a good point. Because I'm sure they've got more than 5 episodes in the can. They probably have, you know, part 1, 2, and, you know, maybe most of 3 done. But if it's a huge hit, they'll be like, okay, let's let's extend this out so we don't just close up whatever storylines and stuff like that. That's a good point. You know, I don't understand the business of streaming TV, you know, in that regard. So, but one of the things that's super cool about this, James, is the cast. It has a huge star-studded cast, and you know, full of people that you recognize, and then also like really big voice actor stars. But my favorite thing is that Mark Hamill is playing Skeletor,
which makes sense. I mean, he played the Joker in the animated series, and they're not too different.
No, and he's basically playing the Joker as Skeletor. Like, it's
right,
and I'm totally fine with that. It's exactly the same type of thing. So it's pretty cool. I look forward to watching this show when it drops on July 23rd. Would love to hear what everybody thinks. Just let us know on social media.
Well, Chris, I have some good news for you, because I know that you're waiting with bated breath to see even the tiniest little bit of dino damage action of Jurassic World Dominion. And I've got good news for you. You can see the first few minutes of Jurassic World Dominion. And you will have to go back to theaters to do it, and you'll have to pay for an IMAX upgrade for Fast and Furious 9, which just plays into the idea that there will be a Fast and Furious and Jurassic Park crossover. Mark my words. This is just the beginning, is all I'm saying. But it is described as a prologue to the main story. The 5-minute sneak peek is set 65 million years ago in the Cretaceous period, when dinosaurs ruled the earth. These dinosaurs are not the ones we're familiar with from the park. Instead, they are a more correct, to our understanding today, versions with the feathers and stuff. And Fast 9 premieres in theaters June 25th.
I'm tempted.
I mean, I mean,
if there's ever a movie to go see, like if you're going back to the theater,
right,
and you haven't been to the movies in forever. I mean, that most people haven't. I mean, I went and saw Cruella with my unlimited pass. Not bad, by the way. I would go see Fast 9. The problem is we only have maybe 2 theaters locally that are IMAX theaters, and a lady was stabbed at one of them. So I'm kind of not excited to go to that one.
So just the one then.
Yeah, and the problem is the one that I would have gone to is the one where the woman was just randomly stabbed while she watched a movie. Somebody was recorded. Anyways, I'm not getting into it. It was bad. It's bad. We're all figuring out. I'm like, it's the nice theater on the nice side of town. Why did
you got to get back row seats?
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
that's
exactly.
The play.
That's
the play.
Stab proof seating. You know, that should be when you pick your seats on the app, it should kind of say like, I don't know, that you're kind of open to the left there.
That's right. Exactly. Maybe I don't want the extra seat space in between me and the other person. I'd like that to be filled so no one could lunge. I don't want anyone getting a running start.
Yeah.
But no, Fast and Furious 9 is not a bad movie to put this in front of. Obviously, they're the same production company, but they're kind of the same ilk at this point. Right.
At this point, yeah. Like, and
neither of them is believable.
I'm hesitant to get into what would a Fast and Furious Jurassic World. We'd have to call it Jurassic World combination, because I just don't want to bring the original
part. It's the park. The park is the problem there.
Yeah, it's just a Jurassic World. Like, I'd have to see how Dominion ends to be like, yeah, like Vin Diesel fits perfectly into this.
That's true. And Jurassic Park 3 is like its own problem, and it doesn't need any more problems. So.
Jurassic Park 3 exists on an island that I can enjoy every once in a while, but I don't like to visit there that much.
I just like the bird cage. That was the coolest part of that movie for me.
It should have been in the first movie. Like the whole idea of flying dinosaurs should have been in the first movie, but it wasn't.
But the problem is then people would be like, why don't they just fly away?
Right, but there's a bird cage.
Right, but why would they need to go in the bird cage?
There was food there. I don't know.
Anyways, go see Fast and Furious 9 in IMAX, June 25th.
Take out your visuals, County.
This is a feature presentation.
And now, on with the show.
Once again, James, E3, the Electronic Entertainment
Expo.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's
it.
Yeah, crushed it. It was great. You had to go on all kinds of different loops to watch any of the stuff. It was all digital again this year, but for a regular schmo like me, I'm not going to the actual event, so it doesn't really matter. So it's great. Everything is streamed online. I get to watch it. That's the way I want to do it. No human interaction possible. It's perfect. No con crud. Oh, I miss conventions, James. So
yeah, exactly. All this stuff you're saying is things that I look forward to, but not E3. E3 is a little crazy.
It's more of an
just
insider.
Not as good as it used to be.
Right.
Well, that's the problem. Is they made it not insider, and now it's just not as good as it used to be. But it's still where people expect to hear announcements and things like that. It was canceled last year due to COVID, and which was probably a good thing, even though you could be like, you could have done it digitally last year. And it's like, well, companies didn't know what they were doing at the time. They were trying to figure out how their production schedules were going to continue, like what it was going to look like. So really what this is what E3 of last year would have been.
That's a good point. That's a great point.
I mean, all these games are just games that didn't have release dates that needed to be announced, hadn't been announced yet type thing. So, but it was entertaining. Sony sat this out as they did the last one, but last year they had a conference around the same time. Sony is kind of deciding to do this approach of Nintendo with the Nintendo Directs and just doing those like once every few months just to kind of give little tastes. And
which
then they have... Yeah,
James,
and then
from a marketing standpoint, James, why would you want to fight with everybody else on the same 3 days if you can just put your event at a different time and run and kind of rule the topic of conversation online?
Yes, I mean I can agree with that, but also you get all of the eyes are looking at this in this direction at this time, so you would want to be there. If that makes sense.
It does.
Everyone's looking for this event and looking at this event for game announcements, and whether or not you have them there is kind of big. So it makes sense.
Kind of silly
also
to sit out. If it's all digital, it doesn't like.
It is weird. I don't know why they sat it out. I think probably they're just waiting to figure out that. There's two things. One, I don't know if they have a big game for this fall. So the earliest thing that they would announce would be for more stuff you've already seen, whether it's really all they have is Horizon Zero Dawn is really their biggest thing, right?
True.
Or they could have gotten, later we'll talk about it, but Square Enix has a PS5 exclusive in the works and things like that. They could have done that at their show, I guess, but whatever. I don't know. I expect that they will have a direct here in the next month and a half, somewhere in there, to have some sort of announcement for something.
Well, there was a lot of cool things, James. So let's get things started with our very first game. So James, why don't you kick it off with some of the stuff that we're looking forward to that we heard about at E3?
Yes. So first up, as far as the conferences were concerned, was the Summer Games Fest with Jeff Keighley, who some people know him as the Mountain Dew Man, but whatever. He seems like a nice guy by all accounts. And there were two games that were kind of announced here that I thought were very cool. The first of which was Jurassic Park Evolution 2, which is the Park Builder Jurassic Park game. I very much enjoy the first one until you get to where like hurricanes are hitting your island and just destroying all the stuff that you spent 18 hours building, and it gets really annoying. But other than that, it's a great game. And then also what everyone was looking forward to was Elden Ring. This game wins the award for a game that I would seem like I would be most interested in, but I'm not interested in at all because it's going to be very hard. It is the game director of Dark Souls and George R.R. Martin coming together to create a game. The trailer is incredible. It looks very cool, but I know every single one of those things would kill me, and I would get very mad and have to turn it off.
If James says that, then I don't even want to even attempt. Like
yeah, I mean, those games are just for people who didn't get hugs as children, and that's just it.
I get frustrated with Jedi Fallen Order. Like there were times where
Jedi Fallen Order is not an easy game. That is a difficult game for me as well. I had to lower the difficulty on the last couple bosses. to get through it.
I was story mode the whole way and still had challenges. So if that kind of sets the bar of my level of gaming. So, but Jurassic, while you brought that up, Jurassic Park Evolution is that and Animal Crossing were probably my most 2 played games during quarantine.
Yeah. I mean, they're
excellent,
great games.
Excellent.
And then next we had the Microsoft/Bethesda conference. Obviously, Microsoft now owns Bethesda, which so they just kind of combined their conference together, whereas Bethesda used to be on its own. The big one from this one was Starfield, and it was announced that it is an Xbox console exclusive. Obviously, it is also going to be coming from PC. Pete Hines, we've discussed this on the podcast before. I thought that there was no way that it would become an exclusive. I will eat crow on that one, but it sounds like Pete Hines didn't think so either, who is the SVP of Communications and Global Marketing, as he publicly apologized that it would not be coming to PlayStation consoles. So
I saw that.
He was essentially like, I don't know that you could consider it. He didn't say, I am sorry, but he was like, it sucks for PlayStation players, and I do not know how to tell them you can't just tell them to deal with it, right?
I saw that. Yeah, he was like, I apologize. Like, it was pretty blatant. I mean, that's just kind of the product of, because I'm sure the game, while it was, the games take forever to be in development, and this is their first original IP in 25 years. Yeah, for a long time. And as someone who makes games, creates games, markets games, you want your game in as many people's hands as possible, right? And I don't know, you got to wonder how much he might not agree with the decision to do that, especially as somebody from a global marketing. He wants everyone to play this game, and he knows that Xbox Ones aren't very popular outside of America. You know what I mean? Absolutely.
So his job's going to be pretty tough outside of America to get people to buy this thing. So, but it does stink. I'm lucky enough to have a good computer, so I'll be able to run it. One little tidbit from the Starfield trailer that they showed is etched into the side of one of the consoles inside of the Starship. Essentially, how this game's been described is a Han Solo simulator. Which has me very excited. But etched into the nav computer of the ship is an outline of a map, and the map looks like an area in the Elder Scrolls universe, and they are assuming that is where Elder Scrolls 6 is going to take place. So a little Easter egg that may or may not have intentionally been put in there, which Elder Scrolls 6 is the game that Bethesda is releasing after Starfield.
I wonder how long it's going to take, depending on sales. How long does that decision to keep it exclusive?
Yeah, I mean, you assume when somebody spends billions of dollars on a studio that they want to make that money back as soon as possible, right? And cutting, you're not going to make a ton of revenue on this game outside of Game Pass subscriptions because it's going to be free on Game Pass day one. Right. So you're not going to be selling tons of physical copies of this game because people can just sign up for this service and, the subscription service and, get it that way. Yeah. Which I think eventually is Xbox's plan, is just to have literally everything come to that service and you just pay a monthly fee. That way you don't have any memberships join and then leave, join, leave, join, leave, join, leave. But that kind of pulls into the next thing, which is Halo Infinite, which appears to be kind of a join and stick around for all the updates that we're sending out, right? So that's going to be their way to keep people engaged in the service, right? So, which I'm not a Halo fan. It doesn't do anything special for me. It's coming out this year, which is very cool. It was supposed to come out last year. It got delayed. Obviously, COVID had something to do with that, I'm sure. Yeah. But it is going to have a completely free multiplayer mode, which seems pretty cool. I don't know whether or not you're going to have an Xbox Live account for that. I doubt it. But we'll see. A couple things that I felt like were missing from this show is Fable. There's a Fable game that has been announced, but nothing has come out about it. There's a Indiana Jones game by Bethesda that has been announced that nothing has been shown or anything for. I thought that was a shoe-in to be at this show, but it wasn't. And then there was another one that I was thinking of, but I don't remember what it was. So you guys are just going to have to yell at me about that.
Well, and side note, Indiana Jones 5 is currently in production. I've seen some leaks.
Uh-oh.
And guess what? Harrison Ford's old, and he looks like Indiana Jones. So
he looks like old Indiana Jones.
Old Indiana Jones with the
Does he look like old Indiana Jones based on how long it's been since it's filmed, or does he look like an old version of that Indiana Jones?
Currently properly
he looks
aged
like what you would expect Indiana Jones to look like in 2021.
Yeah, it's Harrison Ford. But I mean, I don't want to throw in some spoilers or speculation, James, but there's also been some leaks of some Nazi stuff, which kind of hints at maybe we're getting some flashbacks of younger Indiana Jones. And so I'm thinking we've got a Nazi storyline, like maybe something from the past coming back to the, what I guess the 60s.
Guy whose face got melted and the Raiders of the Lost Ark is coming back, baby. Melty face.
Probably. One of the keynotes or video presentations that I actually sat through and watched was the Square Enix one, mostly because we were going to get some Marvel stuff, and this is one of the games that stood out to me as something that I am looking forward to buying, starting playing, and then watching somebody else just play and to get the whole story of. I'm being honest with myself. I know how this works. This is what I did with Avengers and Jedi Fallen Order. I didn't actually finish the game. I played enough and then eventually just watched my fiance play the rest of the game, and I got the story. And, I watched the rest of the movie. But Guardians of the Galaxy, I think it looks rad. It's the type of game that's right up my alley until I just get tired of playing it. And the only other thing, and I know this is on purpose, James, I know that they're doing this to not be licensed in the way where you have to have the actors, faces and stuff. But it's kind of like, okay, Groot and Rocket look close like their movie version, but then you've got Gamora, Drax, and Star-Lord who look like more like their comic version of it.
Right.
And it just seems like, oh, it's like you tried, like you got close. You got close to Chris Pratt, but then not quite,
Yeah, I'm sure they have to. There's legal reasons why they have to not use something that looks just like him. But it is a little weird. It's like a kind of a fourth wall thing, or like a Uncanny Valley, where you're like, this is weird. I don't like it looks fine, but it's just not right, Yeah. I'm super happy about the things that were announced for that game. I was terrified it was going to be a 4-player co-op game. It is a single player game. You play as Star-Lord, you interact with your team, make decisions as a team. The decisions, adjust how the game plays out, things like that. So it's almost like an action RPG type thing.
Yeah,
I'm just so happy that it's not a 4-player co-op. Like you've already got that with the Avengers. It's not doing great. Like kind of let that die. I was afraid that Guardians of the Galaxy was going to be an event because I heard rumors that this was happening, and I thought it was going to be an expansion to the Avengers game, and I was not going to be very thrilled. But it is its own standalone game, which is awesome.
No, I think it's awesome. Like this is a game that I'm definitely excited for, and that's coming out not too far. I've already seen pre-orders go out for this. So this is coming out this holiday season?
Yes, I think it is coming out October 23rd or something like that.
That sounds right. Let's just say that. Let's go with that.
Yeah, let's put it in. Let's ink it. Let's write them a letter. Make sure that happens. Also announced at the Square Enix conference was the PS5 exclusive Stranger in Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. This is a prequel to the very first Final Fantasy game. The one on NES. So
wow,
it could be interesting. It is an action game. It's not an RPG. There's a demo available right now on PS5. If you have a PS5, you can download that. I haven't done it yet. Maybe I'll do that after this. Yeah. I probably should have done that to let you guys know more about this game. But
you should have preloaded it so you could stream it.
That's true.
On your Twitch. Insert plug here.
That's right. Twitch.tv/SGeekSchange. And then the most baffling announcement of all time at an E3 conference. They announced that they are re-releasing Final Fantasy 1 through 6. Very exciting. Super cool. But unfortunately, it's only coming to mobile and Steam. So, which means they're bad ports and they're touch or mouse driven. So I'm kind of glad that they're going to stay there. And but what I do find interesting about this is for the last, I don't know, 25 years, there's been very reliable ways to play Final Fantasy 1 through 6 on PC for free if you want to.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, it's just a weird move. I don't know. So
I've got them all in my little handheld that I got from Amazon.
there you go. There you go.
They're all there. Because I have the carts for, of course.
One thing that I did want to just rewind real quick, and Summer Games Fest, the Jeff Keighley one up at the top, they did have an announcement for PS5 for Death Stranding, Death Stranding edition, director's cut, which is directed by Hideo Kojima and Kojima Productions, who made the Metal Gear Solid franchise. And this thing was full of Metal Gear Solid references, even music and specific sound effects that Sony and Kojima don't own. So there is some sort of partnership going on with Konami. Otherwise, they would be suing them immediately, I would assume. Like it is the music from Metal Gear Solid. It is the sound effects from Metal Gear Solid. There's no doubt that it's the actual ones. So I don't know whether they're kind of playing into this idea that Konami is playing well with PlayStation or Konami is playing well with Kojima Productions, which I doubt that's the route it is, because they did not leave on good terms. But I'm a little bit excited for the idea of more Metal Gear Solid on PlayStation.
Interesting. Okay.
But anyways, now we can continue.
That's awesome. Like it kind of makes you wonder, did they go back and just, recreate it, or if it's the actual original source files, Nintendo, also a player in this world.
Of course.
Yeah. I mean, even though Nintendo told everybody, hey, this is going to be all focused on games, I don't know how many articles I read about like the Switch Pro and like all this stuff. Of course, that didn't happen because they told us. Nintendo, they're good boys. They tell us.
Yeah, you can trust them.
You can trust Nintendo. They told us exactly it was going to be games, and it is exactly what it was. They saved one of the biggest things for last, but Breath of the Wild 2 is coming 2022. It's not the official name of the title because Nintendo thinks that by telling us the name of the title, it would give it away. I don't know how Breath of the Wild, or a title like that would spoil it.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I've never beaten Breath of the Wild, but I assume that there's some timeline things that go on, and like kind of one of the things is calamity, quote unquote, and that is an event that occurred. So maybe if they make it something with that in the title, it would clue that it might take place before, or I could see how the title could potentially, but then them just saying that could also give it away. Like, oh, it's going to take place not directly after blah, 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 or whatever. I just hope it's like Majora's Mask and you just have to play Breath of the Wild 2. And it's just the same thing as Breath of the Wild, except you have to do it in 3 days. And then the Earth dies. So you just have to keep redoing the same thing over and over again. Like Majora's Mask was to Ocarina of Time.
That's never going to happen.
I'm just kidding. They're different games, but it's kind of bullshit.
Something that I got kind of excited about was their it's a, I don't know what you call it, a reboot, a remake of Advance Wars 1 and 2.
Yes.
It's called Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp. It's coming out December 3rd. I loved Advance Wars on my Game Boy Advance, and I'm looking forward to this.
I was not very good at Advance Wars, but my brother really liked it, and I feel like as an adult I will like it as well.
Yeah, I same boat exactly. I enjoyed playing it, but I don't think I was very good at it.
One thing that's not on this list is Mario Golf. We got an in-depth look at that, which is coming out in like a week.
They got to sign up at the GameStop.
June 25th, yeah. Which I am a huge Mario Golf guy. The career modes in the Mario Golf are always good fun. So I'm looking forward to that one. And it looks like it has some pretty cool party modes and battle modes and things like that. Speaking of party modes, there is a Mario Party like All-Stars or Superstars. Star Party. There you go. Sure. That is coming out, it looks like it's a combination of Mario Party 1, 2, and 3 on the N64, which is super exciting.
I've never played any of the Mario Party games. I just don't have friends.
And it has let me tell you, it has full online. So you can play with friends online.
Fantastic.
On the interwebs.
I can do that.
On the line.
On the line through the tubes that connect all the computers. That's exciting.
That's right.
Also, WarioWare That was kind of that surprised me a little bit. Like, that's a weird thing to put out there.
Yeah. But
the only hardware, though, James, they did announce some hardware, even though they told us it was all going to be games, is the Legend of Zelda Game & Watch system, like the one they did for Mario last year or the year before. It's going to retail for probably about the same price, $49.99. You can still get the Mario one in stores. I see them all the time at my Walmart.
yeah, but they're limited edition.
Right.
Scalpers were buying them up when they came out.
They sure did. Put them up on eBay. Just like the Mario 3D
3D All Stars.
Yeah, that I can.
Yeah,
there's like
rough.
nine deep at the Walmart here. This is going to include. It's cool. I mean, if you're a Zelda fan, like I could see wanting to have this. You know, just
right.
It's a cool little collectible. It's got the original Nintendo Legend of Zelda. It's got Zelda 2, The Adventures of Link, and then in the Game Boy version of Link's Awakening, and then also some dumb old Game & Watch game with Link instead, and then like a clock and timer. You know.
How it doesn't have the Game Boy Color version of Link's Awakening is baffling to me.
Right. Like they
made a color version. Like, why would you not just put that on there?
I don't know. Nostalgia? I don't know.
Whatever.
I don't know.
But it does exactly what the title says. It is a game and it's a watch. It has a clock. And you can look at the clock, and while the clock's going, enemies will pop up on the screen, and you can take control of Link on the clock and fight the enemies if you want.
That's $50 right there.
Yeah,
that's what I wanted.
Dinner and a movie.
Something else that I wanted, even though I don't think that I'll ever use it, but it's something that I just felt left out as an original Oculus Quest owner. When the Oculus Quest 2 came out, they had this AirLink feature that came out, and it lets you stream content from your computer directly to your headset without the use of wires and stuff. Original Quest owners like myself were left out. Well, this wasn't, I don't think, a part of E3 at all. It just kind of came out at the same time. But weird dude Mark Zuckerberg made an announcement saying we're going to get it. So if you're an original Quest owner and you've got VR titles on your computer that you want to play on your Oculus Quest without a wire, you're in luck, because it's coming your way pretty soon. So
let's look around the region and take our pick of the week.
Shut up and take my money.
All right, James, it's time for our pick of the week, something that we have enjoyed a great deal, and we think maybe other people will enjoy it as well. People like you listening at home or in the car or at the gym or wherever you listen to podcasts at. And, I've lost track. I have a little notes section, James, but I do believe it's your turn this week to go first.
Well, as always, Chris, we want to keep this as a tight hour show for the people out there, and so why not double down on something? And being that I've seen 2 episodes of it and you've only seen 1, I can wholly recommend the Disney Plus original series Loki. I think everyone should continue to watch it.
The fact that you haven't watched, you couldn't finish Falcon and the Winter Soldier with just the first episode, but then you're wholeheartedly putting it behind Loki says a lot.
Yes, this movie is not, or this TV show, because it's different. That's what I need from these Marvel and Star Wars TV shows. I don't need more movies. I need something different, something that is better in a television format.
Yeah, no, I'm super pumped. We're going to watch it as soon as the show's over with. We'll, I'm sure, continue the Loki talk as the show progresses. My pick of the week is kind of an oldie but a goodie. So Bear McCreary is the composer for a lot of really cool stuff. He does Walking Dead, and one of my favorite series of all time, Battlestar Galactica, which James has not seen. The soundtracks to that show are amazing. And if you're ever looking for, let me put it this way. If you are someone who works and listens to music while they work, and sometimes you need like motivating, epic soundtrack type background music to like make the tedious work that you're doing even more epic, the Battlestar Galactica soundtracks are amazing. The problem has been that they're not on streaming services. You've had to have, I have a couple on CD. Like what? Like, I don't know where they are anymore. You could buy them. You could buy them on iTunes and stuff like that. Well, thankfully, last week the Battlestar Galactica soundtracks were all added to all the streaming services. They're on Apple Music and Spotify and all that. But not only that, shortly after the series ended, there was a live show done at like the Hollywood Bowl called "So Say We All." And it's the music from Battlestar Galactica kind of reorchestrated into more of a concert format. And it's so good. Like it's not as good, obviously, if you've never heard the music and if you've not seen the show and, you know, all that. But I think it's objectively just awesome music standing by itself. It means more to you when you're like, okay, this is the scene in the show when, like, you know, the this or the that happened. But it's incredible. It's been on repeat like this entire week. So go check it out if you've not already. And Bear McCreary, like, can I get a vinyl release? I know you're listening. So I'd love to have a vinyl version of the live recording. That would be an excellent addition to my collection. Something else that would be excellent if you followed us on social media. I know that you might be listening to us in your car and you couldn't be like, but Chris, I can't use my phone right now. It's against the law. When you get to where you're going, pull over and add us. We'd love to have you there. Just search for us. We're everywhere. We're on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Facebook. Just search the Geek State. We'll let you know when we have new episodes dropping. It's also a great way if you have questions or if you have comments or if you just want to talk with us. You can just hit us up there on all of those social platforms. So, James, that's about does it for this week's show. We had a good time talking video games and Loki and so much more. So remember, everybody, stay excellent to each other, and we'll see you next time.
But you're going home! And tell Ganon that if he really wants this Triforce, he'll have to get it himself!
Chris, all I wanted to do was keep it to a tight hour, and you went on for 6 minutes about Battlestar Galactica.
I know, but we're at 55 minutes. I was trying
to respect the people's time.
Trying to vamp. I know, like, and, you know, we're trying to be...
I know, I'm just kidding. It was just funny.
That's fine.
I don't even know what the story of Jurassic World Dominion could possibly even be. They let all the dinosaurs out.
Yeah, so that's, I think, what the story is, James.
Yeah, but
how do you get the dinosaurs have dominion of the earth at this point?
Right, but what is one guy, Owen Grady, going to do about that?
Well, good thing you've got Alan Grant and Ian Malcolm and Ellie Sattler also experiencing the world alongside with him.
Yeah, because they did such a great job in the little amount of time they were on Isla Nuba.
Yeah, they at least the dinosaurs didn't get off the island.
Thank God we have those experts.
Oh, wait.
You know why the dinosaurs didn't get off the island? Because there wasn't a bird
paleobotanist, right?